Hey, ready? Welcome to another episode of the Geek Bytes podcast, episode number 133. I'm Ramon Mejia.
I'm Edgardo Acosta.
And every single week on the podcast, we bring you the round of the week's best geek and tech news. We discuss that news and, of course, anything else we happen to be interested in that week. And that includes...
Toys R Us goes belly up. Walmart walking into your home. Terminator 6. Flashpoint. Han Solo. Movie trailer showdown and much, much more.
Absolutely. And, of course, we begin our show, though, with Geek News. And the first story is one that Edgar requested.
Oh, yeah.
Toys R Us.
Hit hard. For the children of the 1980s, Toys R Us was a mecca at a strip mall. An awe-inspiring array of dolls, trucks, board games, bikes, art supplies, and much, much more. Many of them noticed when on September 18th, the chain filed for bankruptcy. Dave Brandon, the company's chief executive, I don't even know that one.
Chief executive emphasized
That shops would carry on operating as usual and claimed that Toys R Us was at the start of a new, brighter era. A Chapter 11 bankruptcy, many analysts agree, is a sensible way to deal with a chain's $5 billion of long-term debt. So Toys R Us is not dead, but its future is hardly certain.
Yeah, so basically Toys R Us going to bankruptcy does not necessarily mean that all the stores are closing. It just means that they are going to have to make arrangements to pay their bills, maybe liquidate some assets according to like a bank or a court filing. It's unfortunate that they have to do this because bankruptcy is always going to ruin a company's credit and their ability to get more funds later on. But $5 billion is kind of a lot of money to have just sitting around like owing people. I think they have like a monthly debt payment of like $400 million or something, maybe it's yearly, but like that's a lot just on interest.
And they're doing what they can. Even they're offering their own credit card line, services, whatnot. They're doing layaway.
Yeah, they're also doing like in-store events to try to get people to come back in the store, like kids events,
parties,
like kids classes, like art classes or music classes,
movie releases for whatever things coming out.
I'm like, and this is just unfortunate that brick and mortar stores are just kind of going out of business where they can, because it's so much easier to still look on your computer, where you don't want to take your kid in the store and go click on your phone and then it just delivered to you automatically, and you don't have to get the kid in the car, put him in the car seat, and then like entertain them until you get there, and then like go inside where they get all hyped up and crazy over all the toys, and then try to wrangle them back out of the store and back into the car and back home. It's such a hassle when you can just go tap, and even if you're spending extra money, it's well worth it to save your hassle.
My thing is, I don't blame Toys R Us. It's the toys themselves. The quality of them have been shifting around in weird ways. Some of them are just ridiculously expensive, like the Sphere ones. Don't get me wrong, they're pretty cool. Like the BB-8, remember when it first came out? Yeah. It was a remote control. They control your phone and everything. That thing's going for like $100, almost $200. There are other toys that are similar to that. Then there's just the quality of some of them are just really shoddy. They're doing what they can. I think they opened up like almost like a store within the store. They have the Claire's kind of thing, like clothing semi-boutique for girls. But there's just not much like cool stuff. Before it was like, oh, I can't wait till the latest.
What's nothing that you can't get online, basically.
Well,
and that's kind of the thing that the article we pulled the story from was Business Insider, and their point essentially was like Toys R Us doesn't offer anything that Amazon can't, cheaper and more conveniently, including like free shipping if you're like a Prime member. So there's nothing that Toys R Us is doing that isn't duplicated by Amazon or someone else with an online presence done better, basically. And so unless Toys R Us can do something that actually makes people get inside of a store, they're gonna kind of go the way of the bookstore.
Pretty much, yeah. Because FOA Schwartz was another toy store, like a big New York chain, but they went down. So it's just a matter of what's happening next.
Yeah, and you basically have to learn. You have to pivot and do something new and exciting and take a risk, or you just get kind of push it out of the marketplace, which is kind of what's happening with Walmart in that they are at least pivoting in the next story. So Walmart is trying something kind of weird and a little on the edge of what people may or may not be comfortable with. Walmart is hoping that you'll trust their company enough to let its delivery drivers walk into your home and deliver your stuff, even if you're not home. The retailer has teamed up with a smart home accessory maker, August Home. That's the name of the company, August Home, to test a new delivery method in Silicon Valley, which entails giving drivers access to your house so they can put your groceries in your fridge. After making sure nobody's home to answer the door, the driver will use a one-time smart lock access password that you pre-authorize for him, and he'll go in and put the items where you specify, basically. So this is definitely a test thing, and I'm like, how much background screening do you do for these drivers? And I mean, this is Silicon Valley is relatively rich, and so having smart locks in the first place is kind of an indicator that there's a higher level of like income level there. And you can apparently also like watch the person as they're going into your home to make sure they're only like putting groceries and they're not like lifting expensive items from your home. Mm-hmm. And this is definitely a test market of this, but this is sort of a way that Amazon can pivot. Or sorry, not Amazon, but Walmart rather, because Walmart and Amazon are definitely competing on the level of like shipping things out cheaply and being a retail marketplace. But where Walmart is sort of ahead is that they're already established as a grocery chain as well. And Amazon is just getting into that marketplace. They just purchased Whole Foods. And a lot of those stores are either closing down or they're like being reorganized. And people are guessing that they're going to use those Whole Food locations as a ways to do their Amazon Fresh delivery service of groceries. And Walmart is basically testing out a way to go one step further and put the groceries in your fridge for you. So you don't even have to open the door. They'll deliver them. They'll walk into your home with their special password and just put things away for you so that when you come home later on, groceries done. And some people will actually, I mean, assuming there's a level of trust that you can establish there, some people would probably be cool with that.
Both pros and cons on it. Of course, the whole security, if you really want to trust somebody to even walk around, all your stuff. My thing is the pro on it, that's cool. You're going to get to drop it off, but I would prefer if there was like an actual drop-off spot that kind of like, your garage or so, or somewhere that, here's the table.
Well, these are like groceries, though. These aren't like other items. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm not sure you can basically, I'm sure you can set up instead of them putting them in your refrigerator, just leave them on your counter. Yeah. But like, what do you do about your perishable items like milk and ice cream? Like, if they're just going to sit there, why not have them just grab it and put it in the freezer instead of? I mean,
I would have that like once again in a garage. Have like a drop-off freezer, drop-off fridge. Throw it in there. Then when obviously
they're basically following your instructions, so you could do that for them. I mean, you basically say, "Oh, here's the access code for the outside garage door that isn't actually leading to your house with the fridge and the freezer there," and I'm sure that'd be perfectly acceptable. But the idea is that they're gaining access to your home and that you have a certain level of trust with your smart locks and that the system is already built in to allow one-time access to people if you want them to. And Amazon and Walmart, I should say, is really I can see how this would be cool for some people. And even if you set up the way you want to where they're not actually accessing a regular home, but like the garage area, maybe that might be a different option, but that's what the test phase is for. But you, from what you're telling me, you'd be for this. If under like your particular circumstances, like in the garage where they're not accessing my expensive stuff in my house.
Yeah, because it's just more of a scale because it's no different than the food delivery services like Blue Apron and whatnot. Yeah. The only thing is,
or even like Amazon Fresh, where they'll make groceries for you and they'll just like, here's a bag for you, lady, at your house for a delivery fee.
They'll put it in like a little insulated cooler kind of deal and whatnot, and that's just obviously.
Is he sit at your house, or you pick it up, or they? I mean, this is just the next step of like them putting it away for you. Like, would you pay somebody to put groceries away for you? Sort of, maybe. Yeah, if it's not too expensive, but yeah, I mean, that's what this is basically. Yeah. So I think it's interesting. I don't know. It'd be a matter of getting people to trust the service. Yeah. I think that would be the biggest issue. Like, people are plenty lazy. People are plenty to do this kind of thing. Just at what price point, and establishing trust in advance, because it's just going to take like one shady driver who lied on his application and is like casing the joint and like reporting it to people instead, and that kind of ruins the trust.
You see the people's cameras when like even your postman, FedEx, Amazon guys, they'll just throw the shit over the fence and like fuck it. It's your problem. I don't care. You got it. It got delivered, right? Yeah. That's it. Nobody said anything about having to put it nicely placed in a certain location. You got your package.
Yeah. So like I said, it's an issue, but I think it's kind of cool tech. Yeah. Okay. Next story. Sarah Connor.
Yeah, this week Arnold Schwarzenegger confirmed some details about Terminator 6, starting with the fact that Linda Hamilton will appear in the new Terminator film. It also means that she has already started training on for the production. Arnold also revealed that the Terminator 6 will not be called Terminator 6. It'll be called another name. It will be a sequel to Terminator 2 Judgment Day, or that it's going to ignore Genesis. Today, the story has been crafted by Cameron himself.
Yep. So it's a James Cameron approved script. The idea essentially is that it's going to take place right after Terminator 2 and ignore all the other stuff that came after it. So it would have Sarah Connor in there. And she doesn't really look that much different from this picture that we're showing currently. Like she looks a little bit older. She's obviously heavier. But she still looks pretty good, yeah.
That's her currently?
No, that's from the movie Terminator 2. When she was like top shape. But like, yeah, I'm happy to see Sarah Connor because she basically disappeared after Terminator 2. She wasn't in any of the other films, was she?
No, they did have. I think she got killed off or something because they did have obviously John Connor.
I think they just said she died in like the next movie. They're like, oh, mom died of cancer after she thought she would die from the rise of the machines, but she ended up dying from smoking and cancer. I'm like, what a cop out. But in this case, I guess she come back and the uprising wouldn't have happened. I think they keep going back to that, the rise of the machines story again and again and again, because that's interesting and it's a cool concept, but just their execution just kind of sucks every time when they try to do it. Maybe Cameron's the guy who's gonna be like, I did it right the second time, so let me do it third time. Now that he has the rights back to the film anyways.
That's the thing about alternative timeline things. Things change, and that's the only kind of cop out they can to go back to try to fix what they supposedly thought. It's like the quote unquote butterfly effect.
Yeah, no, it's basically a big reset button on your storyline. It's like, we can do time travel,
and I see the whole Flashpoint.
Yeah, I mean they do in the comics all the time for that exact same reason, to try to hopefully fix this or just kind of get another bite at the apple.
Yeah. Let's kill this guy. Again, let's not kill this guy, but
and
hurt
maybe
him
you'll
really bad.
Come back again, and we'll get more money out of you.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, that happens. Okay, but it's a cool story.
My thing is I don't think they'll ever use the. I know he's all grown up, but I think he's all drugged out. To be honest.
Oh, the kid.
The kid, yeah.
No, you don't need him at all.
Yeah.
I mean, Sarah Connor's cool. Arnold Schwarzenegger's already going to be inside in the movie, I should say. I think James Cameron's probably going to be the biggest push of like making this thing better. But we'll have to wait and see. Not all of his stuff is great. Yeah. Most of it is though, so that's always helpful. And speaking of cool stuff, we'll go with Ron Howard and Han Solo. The #show.com is reporting that everyone's favorite Dark Lord of the Sith, Darth Vader, will be appearing in Ron Howard's version of the Han Solo movie. Remember, he took over after they lost that director to finish a production, but it's also seeming like they pushed the release date back 6 months because Ron is doing some extra filming and extra storyline editing. And this is going to include, apparently, a cameo by Darth Vader, which is a little weird because I'm trying to think of like in the timeline when Darth Vader comes to power and when this film actually takes place, like where is that transitionary period? Because Darth Vader does appear in episode 3 at the end of it. And I'm kind of curious. Well, no, I mean, trying like where Darth Vader begins his journey. It's at the end of episode 3. Then that's when
the helmet's on.
Yeah, and so that would be like when that's Vader. And so I guess it could occur for young Han Solo because the kids aren't there. So that's going to be like a 20-year period between episode 3 and 4. And so there's a whole 20-year section of there like, I guess, Han Solo could have adventures where Darth Vader's around. It's just kind of a weird thing in my head because I'd never thought of it that way.
Well, my thing when it comes to the world of cameos, it could just be him literally walking in the background.
He's like,
exactly. That's it. That was it. That's his cameo.
Yeah, they did that for Rogue One. That's basically what they did for Darth Vader came in and he kicks some ass. Oh yeah, and that was everyone was real happy with it. So I don't think anyone have a problem with Darth Vader showing up for the young Han Solo movie. There are other speculative stories that this movie is also going to have the Kessel Run. The famous story of him beating the Kessel Run in 2 parsecs or something. I can't remember. So that might be part of it as well. That also might be part of him actually getting the Millennium Falcon from Lando Calrissian. Guess what he said, yeah. So those are some great speculative stories there. So next one, so what do we have here?
Let's talk some DC.
Yep, Flashpoint.
Yeah, Deadline has confirmed that Gal Gadot will indeed reprise her role as Wonder Woman in the upcoming standalone Flash movie, Flashpoint.
Yes, if they can ever get a director. Did they ever get a director for that?
Like many movies up in the air, unless they do something and wind up getting themselves fired for some apparent reason.
Yeah, or they're like had conflicts and they're like, oh, this other company offered me more money, so I'm gonna go there instead.
Creative differences.
Yeah, and so I think the Flash movie is probably the one I'm most concerned with, just because they have a bunch of issues with scripts, with directors. They have their star, and he's happy to like get ready to do this film. And I think they're adding Gal Gadot just like, oh yeah, this is a real thing. We have two heroes now. Two, it's reals, for reals. And that's what it kind of feels like. But I'm happy to see that, I mean, because in any kind of Flashpoint film, you would hope that it would be more than just Barry, because that's part of the idea of Flashpoint, that he resets things for everybody and not just himself. So yay. I think it's a weird place to start the first Flash film, though. Yeah, if you don't give him an origin story, you just like jump in like one of the most well-known and interesting storylines. I'm like, okay, what do you do for a sequel?
Yeah, because technically you got a little bit almost like if you watch the Flash series, they did it in the Batman versus Superman, because there was that little kind of like time vortex thing where he kind of peeks in at Batman. You barely make out, if anything, what he says. Then that was it.
Might be Flashpoint. Mm-hmm. That might be part of the Flashpoint experience. So that Batman, Superman thing like that, he messes things up. And he's calling out to Bruce Wayne from his Flashpoint experience. Exactly. Yeah, that might actually be it. You're right. That'd be a good setup.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I want to see what's going on. Obviously, Justice League's not out yet, but they're showing more and more. If anything, you get a little bit of a teaser trailer, teaser of the storyline, much less of the characters. If you ever go to like a toy store, especially with these Lego sets, they kind of ruin it for you a little bit. But
what have they ruined? I've only seen Steppenwolf. As far as like the toy goes, I don't think I've seen much of the other toys that would ruin anything for like anything I would expect.
Like Superman will appear in it, but they don't say exactly when. Because supposedly he's dead.
Well, no, they kind of foreshadow it at the end of the Superman or end of the Superman Batman v Superman movie, where like his, the
funeral position.
Yeah, the funeral thing at the end.
That's why I just don't know if.
And we all know Superman never really dies.
That's why I just don't know which route they're gonna go, if they're gonna do his funeral. Or they're
gonna I'm hoping they're gonna go with like.
They launch him into the sun.
Well, I guess that wouldn't be one way to do it. I was hoping they were gonna go with like the multiple Supermans that pop up afterwards, like after Doomsday killed them, and you have like Cyborg Superman and Superboy, and then like who was the other one? Steel, I think, was one. And they're just a bunch of versions of him. We're like, oh yeah, I'm his clone. No, I'm the real Superman. And that being an issue, like, oh, one's a traitor. That would be a cool standalone film on its own, much less like, oh, part of the Justice League. I think what they're actually going to end up doing is they've already foreshadowed with Steppenwolf is the Darkseid storyline of like the new 52 version of the Justice League, where like the first episode of that comic is like, oh, Darkseid is invading, and these superheroes have to get together and fight him. And they literally just jump in, like in the first episode of that comic is Darkseid shows up and he kicks some ass. And the Justice League is like, oh, you guys are heroes? We're heroes too. Let's try to fight this guy together.
My thing that I want to see, especially related though, them somehow ending about their own apocalypse, but I want to see the Valkyries. The Furies, if they're called.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to see the kind of disturbing. I don't know what's the name of the mother, but it's like Mother something. But she's the one that trains.
The grandmother one.
The grandmother one.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's always kind of been kind of.
Should be kind of who they can get the rights to, and like who's going to fit in, because you have too many characters already. You already have the Justice League, much less the Darkseid team. And I foresee Darkseid being like a 1 to 2 Justice League episode, movie villain. So like you don't have to put them all in the same first film.
There's between either 1, 2, maybe 3 on who would I want to see play that the old lady trainer person.
Roseanne.
Yes.
That's what I would say, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Between her, Stifler's mom, or Kathy Bates.
Kathy Bates would be cool, I guess. She could do the acting job. Yeah. I think Roseanne Barr would be the cheaper option though, between her and Kathy Bates. Like Kathy Bates is, she's an actual Emmy Award winning.
She has the skill.
Yeah, she has the skill. She has a higher paycheck there. But Roseanne Barr, I don't know if she's doing much besides doing the Roseanne remake. And she definitely has that look,
the persona,
and the persona of an evil grandmother, which
she trains like these girls to be their,
Yeah, I think she could pull it off.
Oh, totally.
It's a very cool character, villainous. So yeah, I would be cool with that. Okay. Sorry. Enough speculation for Justice League. Next, we're going to speculate about the Watchmen instead. It's actually been confirmed by HBO television series that they are actually developing the Watchmen television show. It's going to be R-rated, and apparently it's going to start sometime, sometime next year. So there you go. It's again they've already started filming, so they actually have scripts. They're keeping closed mouthed about it as already. So um, expected to come out. I assume next year is what they mean because it takes a long time to film. So there you go. I think this might be what they're trying to replace though with Game of Thrones, like that time slot, because Game of Thrones is essentially ending. So stick in the Watchmen and get on the superhero bandwagon and see how that goes for you.
Yeah, because what's the other thing that I don't know if HBO has any ties to, but with the Tom McFarlane wanting to make his own Spawn movie, like his Spawn movie, not necessarily. I don't think he's going theatrical though. I think he's going to go like HBO or.
No, I think they're doing an actual movie.
Oh, theatrical.
Yeah, because remember, I mean, I've heard Kevin Smith talk about it before, like his conversations with Tom McFarlane on different like panels and whatever, and he was like, "Yeah, this is going to be an actual movie. It's going to be the people who basically put up the money for Yoga Hosers and Tusk are doing the same thing with him. It's a smaller production company that's willing to take the risk with this kind of stuff, and they, Kevin Smith kind of connected the two, and they're basically putting the money forward, giving him free reign to do with this film because it's an investment for them. Like they don't really care if it's like super amazing and awesome as long as they're getting their investment back basically, and it's a smaller film production, so they're willing to take like smaller risks, but you have a smaller budget. And Tom McFarlane was like, "Yeah, I'd be happy to work with a smaller budget and really go indie on this thing." He doesn't because his philosophy is the same as Kevin Smith in that when you get $500 million for a production, like that's the production company's money and that's their film, so you have to listen to what the hell they say. But if you're working with a much smaller budget, you can kind of do whatever you want to do, even if it's like weird and outside the box and like really creepy or like really tusky. And it's your film, and as long as you make back the money that the investors put in there, they're generally happy with what it is. So I think that's where they're going.
I wish I could. I'd said I don't think I even watched the Watchmen movie, much less
It's
read
cool.
the comic book.
No, it's I mean the comic book series is better. It is definitely different. And at the end of that is a giant starfish that everybody fights. Yeah, it's basically like the starfish from DC,
Oh, really?
except like Godzilla sized.
Oh, wow.
And that's the end basically. It's very much a comic book, kind of monster ending. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But in the movie version, it's more about the Watchmen themselves and how they change, and like some more of an adult version of like what the Justice League would be. Like they were real like humans instead of comic book characters.
All right, cool.
So yeah, but it's not bad. I mean, you can rent it or download it from wherever. It's
I'll
relatively
check it out.
decent. Yeah, but you'll see like oh, that's supposed to be Batman and that's supposed to be whoever.
Comparisons, but yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's see. The DCW. Yes, right, because that's what they do.
Yep.
Today announced that the 2017 Arrowverse crossover will be Crisis on Earth X, a story that will pit the heroes of the Arrowverse against the evil doppelgangers of themselves from Earth X, a universe where Nazis won World War II.
Yep. So this is I think we just saw a trailer for another like new Young Justice League. Where this is the exact same premise of like, oh, these are the characters from an alternate Earth, fighting Nazi Justice League characters, and that's I think it's the same Infinite Earth number, like that number Earth, and like okay, the Flash television show is getting so far ahead of the Flash movie at this point. Like the Flash television show has already done Flashpoint, and now they're doing like Flashpoint X for the Arrowverse, which is up. All the CW shows are connected, so obviously like the actual Flash television shows all going to be pulled in as well. But like yeah, Greg Berlanti is kicking ass on this DC CW stuff, man.
He's having fun. It's not getting ruined. People
Yeah.
are enjoying
Nobody's ruining these storylines.
it. Yeah.
Profits are up, viewings up, so you can't say he's doing anything wrong. It's just like I feel bad for the DCU film universe because they're getting like the secondhand stories of this one because he's grabbing all the good ones.
Yeah, their opportunity. They're taking forever. They're wasting their time. All this kind of BS going on. He's like, I can just put it out now. I don't care if it's not theatrical film quality, whatever. It's entertainment. It's people with something that they want to watch.
Yeah.
My thing was always kind of funny because I obviously I got hooked even though I'm not a big DC fan. I watched all the Legends of Tomorrow, of course, Flash and Arrow. Been starting on my Supergirl.
How did Legends of Tomorrow go for you? I watched season 1 and then I stopped. So season 1 was cool. I saw the end of that, and then season 2, I'm like, not really into it. Like Flash is still amazing, but like season 2 of Legends of Tomorrow just wasn't as interesting to me.
If it wasn't for the tie-ins with the other shows, that's the main reason that you want to watch it.
Because that's a full cast.
Oh yeah.
And like once you have like 6 or 7 characters on a show, it's like it's hard to give each one the time you need to develop actual storylines and character backgrounds and development. Especially with that Lindsay Lohan lookalike, she always freaked me out. I'm like, okay, it's fine.
Yeah. My thing was just always funny, especially when it comes to timelines and wherever they travel.
Yeah.
It always seems to be like the awkward racism was it's always the black guy or the black girl. I'm like, really?
That's why they put what's her face in there? The I can't remember her name now, but like the black girl who has the power of the animals, right? Yeah. Vixen, yeah.
Yeah, so they're putting anywhere from the old Civil War era when they're expected to be house slaves and stuff like that. It's like I'm surprised nobody said the N word at least once in it, but they still they'll use the proper terms of calling them colored or this or boy, and then every single time I would see like what's his name not Heat Plus, not Firestorm. It's like I was always waiting for the ghetto to kick in and like just unleash on him. Oh yeah.
Well, it's like also one of those things. Like, well, how many times can you go to the past without messing it up? Like, I mean, according to like their timeline scenario, like, oh, every time you visit the past, you're changing the future, whether or not you intend to or not. So every person you kill, and they kill a lot of people in that show. Yeah. So you think like these population models would change, like, oh, superheroes just pop out and new people, but none of that seems to happen. It's always very, comic magic wandy, like, oh, it magically the timeline repairs itself.
I'm glad they're introducing more and more characters, even if it's just like a cameo.
I think cameos are cool.
So it's just a matter of who.
But it also like claims them for the television universe, because the film universe has always very much tried to stay separate from the television universe. Yeah. But the television universe has so many more episodes and storylines that they got to commit to. Like they're grabbing more like claims on all these other characters.
But what's kind of cool, they are doing their version of it because I got to give credit to Supergirl. They talked about Superman. They brought Superman
eventually for season 2.
Exactly. So it's just a matter, and I'm hoping, crossing my fingers like hell, to see a Batman. I don't care who's Batman.
Well, no, then you're also going to Supergirl's on a different Earth than the other guys, so they can do a different version of Batman if they really want to. It doesn't have to be Gotham's, but it's like, oh, who has the rights to Batman on television?
Speaking of, did you see the trailer for the new season of Gotham?
Yeah, we have that in our show notes. Well, we one of the topics. Yeah, we'll talk about it a little bit, but yeah, and like that's. I'm like, okay, they're doing the Rogues Gallery now, and that's cool.
Yeah,
that's basically what it is. It's Batman Jr. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. Yeah. Okay, a couple more stories before we get to that. We're gonna go with Powerpuff Girls. I know it's a jump, but this was a fun story to me just because I feel like they were kind of pandering to the ethnic community by adding, a mysterious older sister who just happens to be brown, and she loses her powers when she loses her temper. I'm like, I was pretty cool with all the white girls, all the white little girls being superheroes.
Does she neck swing and wave the finger and all that?
She's also she apparently. Well, I don't know. This is for a special edition called the Power of 4, where they're introducing her as the older sister to the 3 Powerpuff Girls, even though apparently nobody ages, and that she was created with, instead of chemical X, chemical W, and so she's just not as good as the other girls. Because she almost destroys the house when she loses her temper and control of her powers. And then she eventually just coming back. The Professor X, Professor Plutonium, never mentioned her at all. And so that's what this is. But it feels very much like, watching her next to the other white girls, like, one of these things does not belong. Like, okay, where did you get the basis for your chemicals? Like, did you have some, colored girlfriend at that point? Because why is she brown? And why is the brown girl the failure? I mean, that's what it kind of feels like. This is.
They didn't exactly like really characterize her like as an ethnic, but she did obviously have. It looks from this visual that we're seeing a thicker waistline, if you will, like thighs and butts and what have you.
Yeah, I think part of that might be like she's older though. She's also taller than them.
Yeah, I need to. I'm gonna watch that episode, but I swear, I don't care what ethnicity they're going with. But if I hear like a really thick bad accent, of
Like
any
she still
kind,
has like a southern accent or something like,
I don't.
"Girls, I love yous."
I don't care if it's that accent. I don't care if it's a Mediterranean,
She's like, "Orale, girls,
island. I don't care. Yeah.
let's go kick the monkey's butt."
Oh my god, no. It looks like a bad like Nicki Minaj cameo that they created a character just for her for
Yeah,
the
it's
voice.
definitely kind of weird. I'm like, okay, but this is definitely an interesting play like this. I would not have foreseen this twist in the Powerpuff Girls franchise.
Because they did do a boy version of them called the Ruddy Rough Boys.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember.
But
that
they're
one.
also like a redhead, a blonde, and a
Yeah.
brunette. So I'm like, oh, I get it. It's
the doppelganger.
yeah, that
different
makes sense.
sex
But like,
of them.
all of a sudden you have an ethnic older sister. Like, I don't know that was needed. I mean, if you
There's
want to
like-
do some more, sales to colored people, like sure.
Some hot sauce fell into the batch. And
Maybe
that
that's
came
what
out.
that's their storyline. It's like, oh, some pico de gallo or some hot sauce or something. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
and then that's how that was the failure in the weapon W
Yeah.
and the chemical W.
Yeah.
Okay, next word on to Gotham. See, wasn't that long of a wait, guys.
All right. In the latest season for Gotham, which has already increasingly featured the Rogues Gallery, Bruce Wayne is shown in a proto Batman costume. However, we think it bears a remarkable resemblance to the hero costume from Kick Ass. Pretty much looks like.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was like. Is that the Kick-Ass costume? Because it kind of looks like it.
What's his name? What's that daddy? Big Daddy? Isn't that the dad, the Nick Cage from Kick Ass?
Oh, I see what you mean. Like I thought it'd be like the Adam Sandler movie, Big Daddy.
No.
No, I don't remember what he looks like.
It's that.
Is it?
Yeah, it's that minus the goatee or whatever.
There you go, another option here. I just thought it was like weird. Like that definitely doesn't look like a Batman costume.
I think it's the ears. It's
like
once it had the ears on.
Can you not afford better clothes, Bruce Wayne, millionaire child?
It's prototype. I'm surprised he didn't go the route of like Spider-Man and just rock a hoodie with a ski mask.
I think in one of the clips, and it's like he does pull a hoodie over his face. I'm like, okay, come on, man, you can afford better things. That's your one superpower, is money. Buy better gear.
Honestly, before I even bought the gear, I wanted to see him train. I want to see the whole story.
No, I'm sure they're gonna do that in there too. But I'm like,
but
the costumes alone, like that looks silly. Come on, Bruce.
Oh yeah, but I want to see the whole him going to the temples, being trained by like Ra's al Ghul, learning all these other things from different skills from different people.
Yeah,
like when he was learning how to be an escape artist from like Zatanna's father and stuff like that. I want to see all that kind of stuff from the anime.
I think it's more stuff that they're would pop into year one, that franchise when they do an animated series of that or whatever.
Now, quick question: is this still the same kid?
I think they changed them out as they got older. Cause I think I haven't watched it. I really have no idea. I'm talking out of my ear at this point. Because I think in the first season it was young Bruce Wayne, and then like season 2 or whatever it is, like they skip ahead in time, and so Bruce Wayne is replaced by an older actor, and so now he's teenage Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, because it varies from time to time. If you're lucky, well, kind of lucky, depending on the lead actor's genetics, if you will. Sometimes he has that growth spurt and fills in.
Looks good, man.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, man, way to go.
And other times they pop out and they grow ugly. And that's unfortunate.
Like, we can't make money off this mug.
Sorry,
anymore.
replace you.
Yeah. So yeah, that the mask definitely reminds me of the Big Daddy from Kick-Ass. The jacket, I don't get it. He rocks a trench coat with a hood on it. So if anything, he reminds me more like an alternative version of like the Scarecrow.
I think they do the Scarecrow in there too, because I think in there they show the Scarecrow, like with it's the movie version of the Scarecrow with the burlap sack on his face. I'm like, oh come on, guys, like you did Poison Ivy well. You've done like Catwoman, where it's the modern version, like with the goggles and everything. Yeah. You couldn't do a better Scarecrow besides a burlap sack. Come on. Oh well. Yeah. Okay. And that's it for the regular news section, folks. We're going to do the movie showdown, and that's kind of it. We have 4 trailers that came in, folks, and we're only one leaves the winner. We have The Punisher as the trailer. Did you see that trailer?
For Netflix, yes.
Yeah, so that was a pretty cool trailer. It shows the Punisher's kind of backstory in that he was happy at one point, and then people murdered his family, and he goes after revenge, but it's also like, a detective's like, him finding the people who are behind the murders of his family. And at the same point, the FBI, the CIA, everybody's hunting him down, including like a special task force looking to get him back.
I love the soundtrack they used for Metallica's one on there. The part is, it still kind of looks awkward though, seeing him with the giant skull on it. It just, I don't know. To me, it doesn't blend that well with him. At least for me. Like, he's a cool guy. The character and everything is awesome, but just the look.
I don't know how much they're going to emphasize it, because I think we only see like one particular scene, and that might be sort of early in the series, because on the other ones he's basically just in regular clothes. Otherwise, it's that guy with the skull on his chest. Let's report him to the police, and that makes you much easier to identify than just guy walking around. But yeah, lots of action, lots of bullets flying everywhere, murder galore.
Can't wait to see which villains.
The rage killing here, and he's definitely murdering soldiers left and right, even people who like are relatively innocent. So it's definitely a darker series. Next one though is Tomb Raider. Did you watch that one?
That one, I was surprised that it came out. That must have slipped under the radar, or I just didn't pay any attention to it, because it's not obviously Angelina Jolie.
No, this is remember they rebooted the Tomb Raider franchise on the video game consoles.
Yeah,
they did like really young Lara Croft, who's not an expert in anything yet. She's also super thin, not chesty in particular. But it's also a survival game, in that has to craft her own weapons, her bows and arrows, and all the traps that she uses in her tools. And it's so Tomb Raider-ish that you're running around escaping things, and very puzzle oriented. But the combat in the game is also improved, and there's also a crafting system there. So that's sort of reflected in this particular version of the trailer, where she's young and there's actual like puzzles involved in this particular film, in this trailer, I should say, at least. But it's also like her versus the world, like her first adventure of Lara Croft, and it actually might appeal to a much younger audience. Angelina Jolie, when she did it, I'm like, that doesn't appeal to younger audience. It appeals to dirty old men. It's kind of what it appeals to.
It's all about tits, cleavage, legs, all that stuff. So.
And some of that is silver, but it's very much less than Angelina Jolie.
Oh yeah.
So there was that trailer, and let's see, our third one is Ferdinand
the Bull. I can't. My biggest thing is, out of all the voice actors in the world, you got John Cena to play. I don't know, he's Spanish, Mexican, whatever.
And the fact that the trailer doesn't stand on its own, but it's John Cena has to appear, so you recognize his voice. And it's like, I can relate to Ferdinand, because you expect him to be just a fighter, a muscly fighter, and he's more than that. I'm like, okay, John Cena, you made lots of money in WWE, and you turned into a movie franchise career, like an acting career, so I don't think anybody really expect you just to be a fighter.
The cash cow can only go so far.
Yeah.
This guy, don't get me wrong, good dude. Like I said, I have nothing against John Cena professionally. He's a great person and whatnot.
Hey, Matt,
hey, Matt, I don't know,
I don't know if that's for this or something else.
That might be a text message. But,
okay.
Anyway. But, John Cena's always been a good guy.
Hey, Thomas.
Cousin.
So John Cena, like, good in this or bad in this, do you think?
As a voice actor, as a thing?
Like, you can't really mess up voice acting.
Well, that was the thing that was always kind of a bit weird to me, because especially with quote-unquote Latin, Hispanic, whatever character kind of thing, you still get a white guy, like
you think this is a case of whitewashing with the voice?
Whitewashing, but it's an animal, so it's kind of like, It's like, okay, like a great example, Lion King. It's supposed to be more like an African-based kind of thing. You think you would get, like, African-American actors, but you still get white people to play.
But they got Mustafa. They got James Earl Jones.
Yeah, but they're animals, so it's like
hard to like pin down. Oh, this is an accent you have to have for it to work.
It has to be a black person to play a cat.
No,
so that's
a thing. But I get what you're saying. Like, so John Cena in this one might be where they also got a bunch of other like famous actors, but John Cena is kind of the main character, so that's what we're kind of focusing on. So. But it's basically pitting him against Peter Rabbit, which is our last trailer, and the actor who does the main character here. This is definitely a very different take on Peter Rabbit than I thought I was going to see, because it's a children's book about a rabbit in a blue coat, and he kind of does some stuff, and it's very cute and adorable, and the artwork is absolutely amazing. It was actually the original artwork in that book was done by somebody who studied animals, and so it's very lifelike, except that they're in clothes, and that's kind of the appeal to it, because it feels like the anatomist of detailed drawings. And the animation in here definitely takes the same cue of like, oh, making them realistic animals, but at the same point, it's what's his name?
James Gordon.
James Gordon as Peter the Rabbit, and it's a comedy, and it feels like Alvin and the Chipmunks, just with rabbits and other barnyard animals.
Yeah. And it's cute. I think it's gonna, kids are gonna want to watch it. Families are gonna want to watch it because, especially compared to Ferdinand being two somewhat childhood stories that are.
Yeah, that's also like so. John Cena and Ferdinand versus James Corden and Peter Rabbit. Who do you think does better at the box office?
Honestly, I'm gonna go with Peter Rabbit.
Yeah.
Reason being also because James Corden is a theatrical actor. He also is a great singer. Mm-hmm. He's done those awesome carpool karaoke.
Yeah.
He's done obviously Into the Woods, so he knows.
Yeah, he's also done like actual theatrical musicals. Yeah.
He has the chops. So unless there's hopefully a musical number in there, which they kind of do, and depending on the soundtrack,
I'd assume they're gonna do it, or like Peter Rabbit doing some pop song.
Yeah, because they're gonna do some kind of covers for sure. Because if anything, I feel like Ferdinand's gonna be one. Like if this was quote unquote olden times, and it would have been a straight to DVD.
Yeah, there's also like a live action version. I mean, where element where in Peter Rabbit they're actual live regular people's going around. So I think on that end, it's also probably going to be cheaper to make because very much like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, you can have real great comedic actors in there in addition to like the CGI stuff.
Oh yeah, I'm just glad I didn't go the route of making it uber cheesy. Like, do you remember watching the Easter movie called Hop?
I remember seeing trailers for it. I didn't watch it. It wasn't my thing. But of these 4 trailers, man, The Punisher, Tomb Raider, Ferdinand, or Peter Rabbit, what was your choice? Punisher. That was mine too. Yeah, I mean the other ones were great. Tomb Raider, a close second between Peter Rabbit and Ferdinand. It was definitely going to go Peter Rabbit for me as well. Ferdinand is fine. I think the fact that they're relying on John Cena as like a big name to draw people in is kind of an indicator of the actual storyline isn't so amazing.
Yeah, unless the bull comes out wearing the hat, the T-shirt, starts doing the hand signs.
Yeah, but he's not actually part of the movie, but it's like they're using his name to draw people in for the trailer. I'm like, that's not a great sign for your animated film when you don't actually see this guy.
If he starts doing also his wrestling-oriented looks and gestures and stuff like that, he starts doing the hand wave.
I think they're probably going to throw in there at some point. Yeah. But yeah, the Punisher trailer is definitely the most badass of all these, so I'm going to go with that one as well. So that's our winner, The Punisher, ladies and gentlemen, and that's going to end the show here for this particular podcast. So thank you very much for listening, for watching, and for hanging out with us. And if you want to support the podcast in any way, shape, or form, you can do so at
geekbytespodcast.com/support.
Thanks again for hanging out with us, folks, as we geek out about these stories that we talk about on a weekly basis. And I know it's a bit of your time to hang out with us. Hopefully you had a great time listening and watching, and remember, feel free to drop us a line at feedback@geekbytespodcast.com for suggestions or just hellos. For Geek Bytes Podcast, though, I am Ramon Mejia.
I'm Edgardo Acosta.
And remember, folks, to go geek out about something.